Hey, good morning everybody. Welcome back to Drawing with Michael. Today, I'm of course Michael. Today I'm drawing on my Dell Inspiron laptop, 15.6 i7, 7573 model. I'm working in Sketchbook Pro, and of course I've got my little XP pen remote here that helps me with my quick keys. So this morning we're just going to be doing some really quick warm-up faces. The reason I wanted to do this video this morning is because I'm using a different camera today. I was able to get my hands on a 4K Lumix G7 camera, and I'm just kind of testing it out to see if that's something that I want to invest in. Last time I was on this computer, I had some issues with palm rejection, so I've turned touch off. As you see, I can't touch anything and have it work. And that's very easy to do. For those of you who don't know how to do that, just go into the device manager to human interface devices, and then you see all the drivers and controllers in here, and just go to touch screen, and you can actually toggle that on and off. Very easy to do. In my HP, there's a quick key that I can just click, 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 and it turns touch on and off. So, that being said, in Sketchbook Pro, for those of you who utilize this program, it is free for the, I believe, the 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019 versions, but they've gone to a subscription model in 2020. So if you want the latest iteration of this program, then it's probably going to cost you about 80 bucks a year. And it is going to a subscription. They haven't really announced that, but I went on their website and that's what it currently is. As you see, I've got a myriad of brushes, and a lot of these are free. You can download them from the program. Whenever you first load it, it'll say new brushes, and you click on that little icon inside the brush tab here. It'll take you to the website, and you can choose which brushes that you can download. One of the better brushes that they have for free is the skin tones, not tones, but skin textures. And what's really cool about these brushes is it emulates skin tone. So you can see that it's just wonderful. And you see that I've got my quick key here, my little XP Pen quick key remote that I purchased from Amazon, Amazon.com. So it's XP Pen Remote. This is about $35. There's a lot of these on the market, in the market right now for sale. One of the more premium models that actually comes with a tablet is the Wacom remote, and that's about $125 to $150, brand new, depending on who you go through. But if you buy a Cintiq, like a Cintiq Pro 32, 24, some of those, I believe it comes with them, which is really cool. But that being said, I looked for a used model of the Wacom because I'm a Wacom guy, but they wanted a lot of money for it. So I wasn't in the mood to spend a buttload of money. So I've programmed my quick keys. Here's my space bar, right? So it brings my space bar and it brings a little zoom in, zoom out puck. I can rotate, I can move my drawing board around. Then I've got this set to Control Z, so it undoes. And I've got some other quick saves. It'll automatically save. Like I press that button, it goes to save. It took me a second to get that. We're going to save this to the desktop. Save. Okay, a little bit to know about Sketchbook Pro. It is a very powerful tool that I love. I've used it for years and years. Actually, I've used it for much longer than I thought. I've probably used it, golly, I remember way back in the day, they had a free Try Me model. And I think that it's been free for a while. And gosh, I want to say 90s, maybe? Maybe it's the 90s? Whenever I started using it. Because I think I remember using it back whenever I worked with Foot Locker. I wanted a simple sketch tool instead of Photoshop for the computer, and this kind of really spoke to me. So anyway, what do I do? What have I done this morning? So this morning, I actually had to take a trip back to the class that I taught last night because I forgot this in the classroom. For those of you guys know, in today's day and age, styluses and anything involved in, here we're going to have his lip come out like this, and anything involved in computers per se is expensive, and to replace the stylus, it's pretty expensive. This one is the active stylus, so you know it ain't cheap. You know, some places wanted $65, some places wanted $100, some places wanted $35 for used. And since it's not Intrig, for those of you who don't know, this particular Dell model does not use Intrig technology. That's one of the reasons why I bought it. I didn't need to buy a computer. I've got so many already. And that's not bragging, that's just the reality of what I do in my business. Right? If I have one computer that fails me, and I have, then I can just go boom, you know. I don't lose any time, any work. Most of the time, that's the way it goes. I have had instances where I've had certain files that have copied over into my fonts. A lot of my fonts are on my Mac. So I don't typically lose files. Now, I did have an issue recently where I had my, oops. See, that's one of the things that, oops. One of the things I have to watch. I have my button under here. If you guys see, there is a button, and it is programmed. So it's programmed right now to the eraser, which is really cool. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, I had a problem with my whatchamacallit? My main drive that holds all my files. And I was using a whatchamacallit? I haven't had enough coffee this morning. I was using a solid state drive made by Samsung, and lo and behold, it started crashing. And I'm like, okay. So I back up pretty much all the time. But then I was like, you know what? I really can't afford to miss, because it literally, it caused some hiccups with regards to my business. And I'm like, I can't do this. So I had to transfer everything back over to a standard drive, which, you know, that's made by Samsung as well. And Samsung doesn't typically have issues with their drives, but for some reason it definitely needed to be serviced or something. So I went ahead and I reformatted everything, and it still was having issues, and I was actually pretty concerned. So right now, I've kind of just used that particular drive as my complete backup, and I've got a secondary backup. So, what am I doing? What is this? This is basically just a character face, something fun, working in Sketchbook Pro. Just a real fun program, works in layers, very similar to Photoshop. It's got a lot of the layer transparencies that Photoshop has, which is very convenient, and it's just a great program. It's very powerful, and what makes it nice, and I always say this, of course this really isn't the case anymore, it's completely free, which, you know, in 2020 it's not. It's not free. And, or at least that's how I perceived it whenever I went to the website. And of course I downloaded the most current iteration, and they're like, you want a subscription model, it's only $80 a year. And I'm like, whoa, hold on there, homie. I thought this was free. And they're like, haha, you suck. There were no, you suck. There was none of that. What is this? Oh, I'm getting... See, there's still things that I'm observing about this computer. That it's not necessarily that I don't like. I just have to go in. It's stuff that I don't understand or know. And that has to do with working in the PC world. See, I work in both worlds, and I know a lot about PCs, but I sure as heck don't know everything, and how to set everything, and how everything works, and whatnot. So I'm still learning, guys, when it comes to PCs. I used to work with a girl. She was PC only, and whenever she came to work at the job I was at the firm, she had to learn the Macintosh environment, and she was constantly marveled at how easy the Mac environment was to learn and to work in, and she didn't have issues with drivers, and she's like, yeah, this is why people in the art world go for Macintosh. And I was like, yeah. And at that time I was Mac only. I'm like, yeah, because PCs suck. That changed. I like PCs. I like, you know, the fact that I can do a lot of things now the same that I could on my Macintosh, and it's at a much cheaper price point, per se. I still love my Macintoshes, and you know, I'll never get away from Macintosh, but I think just for what I do at the current state, I like to just switch back and forth. Okay, so with my Quick Key remote, I got it right here, so all I do is press this button, and it's saved. I didn't have to do anything. Everything is right here. And with this scroll wheel, you notice I can scroll in and out. Then it's got a black button in the center right here. So I press this button. Now it increases and decreases the size of my pencil. Pretty sweet, huh? I don't know what this one does. It's a mystery. Oh, it hasn't been programmed. So I like to keep it on the second one, right? So now we'll go to another face. We'll just do another face. Really quick like. Oh, I got it itchy. Okay. The brush I'm using is the standard, one of the standard brushes it comes with. You know, I just sat there and professed of all the really cool brushes that it has. And here I am using one of the standard brushes that it comes with. The thing is I think a lot of times we poo-poo some of the standard brushes in lieu of getting some of the other brushes. But if you just make a little sweet adjustment to this, you double click, it brings up the brush tab. It's set to basic. If you go to advanced and you go down to opacity with light pressure and flow with light pressure, and you jack those all the way down, and then you adjust the size with light pressure. Instead of being squared, now it tapers. Now it becomes a beautiful, smooth sketch brush that I just love, and it puts stuff down so nice, and it works really well on Intrig as well. Intrig, Sketchbook Pro and Intrig, they're like best friends. If you get your pressure curve set correctly, I mean, I just love drawing in Sketchbook Pro on the PC with Intrig. Of course, there's an issue occasionally with false positives whenever it comes to you know, your touch, but you can turn that off. You can turn it off, and I think that's one of the things that if you're really aggravated, and every single computer is going to be different when it comes to touch. I have an HP, you guys know ZBook, and the touch on it is horrible. I mean horrible. I pretty much only use touch whenever I'm browsing the internet. Every other time, or if I want to go in, I want to adjust the power settings on the right hand side, I can just click my quick key because it's got 6 quick keys on the right and left hand. Actually, I think there's 8. Yes, 8 quick keys on the right and left hand side. But yeah, the Intrig for this particular computer, or not computer, but for this particular program, you can use Intrig very effectively on here. Just having a little bit of fun this morning. You know, exploring different head shapes, different hair shapes. You know, maybe he's got a receding hairline, so we'll have this come around, and then we'll have his little sideburns come down, and we'll have this come to a point back here, right there, right? That hairline comes around like that, and then have that brow come here. Yeah, I like that. That's nice. Okay. Have that nose here. Have that here. Have that here. This brow is going to come all the way down, and we're just going to have the very tip of this this come out and around the eyeball. Okay. And then I want that cheek, so I'm going to have some baggage come down. Whoops. Baggage come down. I'm going to have that here. It's kind of squared off. And I'm going to have that cheekbone here. Here. Get a little bit of white, a little bit of eye shine. Whoops, a little bit too much eye shine. We'll go back. We'll go dark. Okay. We'll increase the brush size using my XP pen remote. Not a sponsor, I just think it's a fantastic product. And if you don't own one and you own a Surface device or some type of touch device and you want to utilize the keyboard, I keep hitting that. One of the things that sucks on this computer is I can't adjust the pen settings. So even though it's got Wacom technology, I can't adjust the pressure curve, and I can't disconnect that particular little button on the inside, which really sucks. So let's go make it small. Let's adjust this up to 100% saturation. Let's go down to black. Right there. Right? I got to check my camera. Because remember we talked yesterday about the DSLR having issues with anything longer than 20 to 30 minutes. Well, since this is a different camera, I need to make sure. I do have my timer set here. So we've got 57 seconds, 56 seconds. So that brings it to 18 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to stop you guys very briefly. You won't even realize what's going on. So I make sure that I don't have an issue of it stopping. So, okay, so not too bad, not too bad, not too bad. Let's give him some wrinkles up here. 1, 2. And what I like a lot about this computer is how big it is. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. So I've got an iPad. Here's the 10.5 iPad. You can see how much bigger it is. And I have an iPad Pro that I utilize that's quite large, but it's still not as big as this. Now, granted, it's an iPad, okay? You're paying for premium. It's a great product. I'm not putting down on the iPads. Love the iPad. Love Procreate. Can't wait for version 5. I'll do a review on that whenever it comes out, okay? But in terms of size, you got to understand, guys, I paid $530 plus tax and shipping for this computer. It is a monster of a machine. One of the things that I do realize, though, there are things that I don't like about it. And one of the, here, we're going to put some color on this. So I added a layer over here. Here's the layer palette. And we can drag it right underneath. And then what's really cool is it's got a little thing right here for layers, and I can go boom, and I can hide it so my hand doesn't hit it if I had touch on. But since I don't have touch on, I can sit here and do this all day. And it's got layer transparency. But what I'm going to do, and two, in this particular version of Sketchbook Pro, you see this little icon up here in the toolbar. There's a ton of tools. We're not going to get into those right now just because of the complexity of it. So I can click this, and it brings up my Copic, that's not right, Copic, my Copic library. So I come over here, here's my nice flesh tones. I got more flesh tones, so we're going to give a medium, we're going to do that one right there. So we're going to come back to this brush. Actually, I kind of like this one. Yeah, I like that one a lot. Okay. So I'll block in, and you notice it doesn't have any lag at all. I mean, it is just baller. It is just so good. There's no lag. I really haven't had issues with lag, guys. I did have, well, let me rephrase that. I haven't had issues with lag on my Surface devices. I had issue with lag, whoops, I had issue with lag on my HP whenever I first got it. Oh my gosh, it was so bad. I would come in here and I would increase the brush size. I don't know how many pixels, but I would try to draw and it was just terrible. I think probably because, whether you guys realize it or not, in the PC world, especially if you sell something through like Dell, yeah, see, this is really nice. See, I can just click that little button on my barrel and it goes right to my eraser. The fact that, you know, here, let me go here. We're gonna go a little bit pinker. You know, Dell. We're gonna go back. Here's whatchamacallit brush. We're gonna increase the brush size. Dell is a company that, you know, does hardware. They don't really do software. Okay? The issue comes in when you start dealing with these companies like Dell, HP, Lenovo. So they manufacture the product and they want to put their stamp on it, right? It's like whenever you purchase a watch. You know, I was a watch collector for a long time, and I got into Tag Heuers, I got into Omegas, you know, I had a Rolex, and I thought I was, you know, first I thought I was the shiznit, which I was not. You know, here I got a $10,000 watch on my wrist. Anyway, I digress. What I'm basically trying to say is the outer shell of the watch was different, but the inside was all the same. So I'd buy a Hamilton. It had the same movement in it as the Tag Heuer. You know, the Hamilton was a third the price of the Tag Heuer, and, you know, I was like, well, what makes the Tag Heuer so much different? It's not. It's the same basic watch on the inside, and you're paying a premium for the name on the outside. Now, granted, those of you who are like, dude, why would you buy a stupid watch? It has to do with, you know, how I was raised and the fact that, you know, I viewed watches as some type of, you know, man jewelry. You know, I liked watches. I still like watches. I like the design of them. I think over a 5-year period, I probably did 500, maybe 400 or 500 watches. And, you know, I look back on that as such a frivolous waste of money and time. And all the time that I spent looking at watches and collecting watches and reselling. Now, I made some money, don't get me wrong. But the reality is I wasted my time. Anyway, so what am I trying to say with reference to computers? So on the inside, you have Intel chips, you have NVIDIA graphics, you have all of these things, and then you're running Windows 10. So you're running Windows 10. Oh, let's go back here to this brush. You're running Windows 10. And inside of Windows 10, you have a Dell shell. The Dell shell, similar to like an HP shell. And what happens is, inadvertently, is they put their stamp on it. They put their, you know, the way they want to do things, right? And it becomes another layer of updating. It becomes another layer of things that, you know, don't necessarily you need, but it's just something else. So what am I trying to say? A lot of times, that's one of the reasons why I thought this Dell was so great, because I looked at like Microsoft Surface, and for the same product internally, it was going to cost me almost $3,000. And I thought, gosh, I can't afford $3,000 right now. I really can't. You know, I mean, I can afford $500 here and there, and that's even a stretch, just because, you know, spending that kind of money on a computer system is, you know, it's pretty significant in my world, at least. You know, I know some people burn money, but in my world, $500 is a lot of money. $1,000 is a lot of money, you know. So I looked at how much it was going to cost for the computer for the Surface, and I'm like, I can't afford that. And then I started looking around, and I'm like, dude, I can get the exact same processor, I can get the dedicated GPU, I get a 4K screen. You know, not even Microsoft offers a 4K screen right now, which I thought was like, dude, I can get a 4K screen, which kind of worked against me because the 4K screen is a battery eater. For you guys who don't know, it eats batteries like a lightning. Okay, so we're going to do about 3 more minutes. So yeah, I was just like, I can't, you know. So I ended up spending, like I said, about $530 plus shipping and handling for this computer, and it's been fantastic. It was a return, or at least that's what they say, a return and a manufacturer refurbish. Right? I've purchased refurbished computers for years now. I don't have an issue with it. I know some people do. They're like, dude, how can you buy a refurbished computer? I'm like, because it comes with a warranty and I don't have to worry about it. And most of the time, what they've done is they've gone in and they've completely fixed all the issues that it had. And sometimes even, you know, they'll basically put the newer processors in it. You know, one of my machines is supposed to have 2 gigs of video RAM, and if you look at it, it's got 6, because, you know, maybe the out of stock, maybe the in stock, I really don't know. But at that time, you know, the refurbishing process, they have to go in and they have to fix it. So I was able to get a 6 gig video card instead of the normal 2, and I didn't do anything other than just buy the refurb product. So, all right. So we're going to go a little bit more saturation. With this little puck up here, it's really fascinating. If you go down, it darkens it. If you go up, it lightens it. Okay, it becomes, you know, the hue, you're adding black and white, right? So then whenever you go to the right, it saturates it and then it desaturates it. So that's really cool, you know, in the context of the user interface. I just love it. So let's go ahead. We'll go down a little bit. And 2, let's go ahead and do this. With this over here, I can lock the transparency. So just like in Photoshop, right now, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. So now I'm going to lock that transparency, the little lock icon that looks like a checkered flag. Now it stays within. So that's something that's also really cool. It saves as a Photoshop file. It's got some of the same qualities as Photoshop. Is it Photoshop? Heck to the no. But in a pinch, you know, I introduced this program to my students, and dude, they loved it. I'm like, yeah, it's a great program. You know, and at the time I'm like, it's completely free. And then they're like, Mr. Mike, you're wrong. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Ha ha ha, make me a sandwich. And they're like, I'm not making you a sandwich. You're wrong. I'm like, fine, let me see. And they were right. Okay, so here, what's cool too is it's got this glow feature, which is beautiful. So I can go in and really pull out some of the highlights. It's like severe dodge, right? Super dodge. Just some really fun effects that you can get. And 2, you know, just to go in. So now I'm going to go on this base layer down here. I'm going to go to the skin tones. I'm going to darken. Here we go. See, this is how I'd usually work. I just go in really dark. Right? And you can put in, see, look, that texture right there. Wonderful. And 2, here, opacity. So I slide up opacity, I slide down opacity. I slide to the left, smaller. I slide to the right, larger. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to go all the way up to about 85% opacity with this. I'm going to give him some texture in that schnoz, right? That's cool. I like that. Maybe gives him some bigger freckles here. Okay, maybe he's got some, so we're going to make it big, like here. Maybe he's got some sunspots. Just wonderful. And digital illustration is such that if you're like, oh crap! Oh crap! And then you just take your little quick key remote and you're like, bam! 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 And you're like, okay. See, if I was doing that traditionally and I did that, oh. Now, granted, you know, there's limitations to digital illustrations. You know, what happens after I close this? That's always the question that I'm always like, does it really exist? Does that piece really, it's ones and zeros. Did you actually create art? Yeah, I created art, you moron. I created art. It's in there. I'm pretty sure it's in there. Yeah, see, that's really cool. Anyway, I think that's all I wanted to show you guys today. Just sketching some character heads inside Sketchbook Pro. You can do a lot of really quick great work. This is a free program. If you can find it free, I know 2020 costs money, don't get me wrong, but I did have some students that downloaded it from the Microsoft Store, and I think you can download it from the App Store as well. It is available on the iOS and Windows machines. I'm trying to find one of my favorite brushes. Where's my favorite brush? No, that one sucks. It's like a texture spray. No. I'm close, I can feel it. You ever done that? You're scrolling through your brushes and you've gone through there so many times that you're like, I can feel it. The force is with me. I can feel it. Where is it? We're going to go back to this one right here. It's the fine pour, and I'm going to increase the size. Oh, it's big. Okay. And I'm going to use it, look, I'm going to use it as a texture shader. Just so nice. I mean, look at that. You can get so much beautiful work in such a short amount of time with this. You know, everybody raves. And don't get me wrong, I love the iPad. I will never be somebody anymore that poo-poos the iPad because I have 2 of them. And I use Procreate. And the things you can create in Procreate are wonderful. But I remember, and I had this conversation last night, I said, I remember whenever I first went and I tried the iPad out, I could not stand it because I had been drawing on the Surface for so long. And, oops, go ahead and go up. And the Surface and Procreate was hard, was one of those programs that I'd used, but I'd used it in the previous iteration of okay, so I got 3.5 minutes. The previous iteration before they had the Apple Pencil. So I was using it back then, and I hated it. And then I used it whenever the Apple Pencil came out, and I'm like, dude, why would I want to spend thousands of dollars for something that only has one program on? And I can use my Surface, and I can run Photoshop on it, I can do Illustrator on it, I can do all these great programs. Now, I look at the iPad as a very powerful sketch tool that I absolutely love. I've got about 1 billion brushes on it. Go ahead and do this up, put some texture on here too. Go ahead up a little bit, increase. But now I think in terms of just how I treat my tools, they're all tools. That's what they are. So that's today. That's all I wanted to do. Please like and subscribe if you like what you see. I'll probably work on these guys for another 10 minutes or so just to make sure that I have what I need whenever I post to social medias. If you don't follow me on Instagram, go over there. See if there's something that you like. I typically try to post every day or every other day. And, there's a lot of videos on the channel. I've grown the channel. I found out how much I've made. I have made $112 on YouTube so far. $112. I've got over 300 videos, and I've been on there for 5 years. So why don't you amortize... It's so stupid. Take all those videos, add up the time it took, and divide by 100, and that's how much I've made per video. Or the $100 and then divide by the number. So, yeah, it's obviously I'm not doing it for the money. Maybe one day it'll happen, but right now I'm doing it for you guys. So thank you for subscribing and liking, and we'll see you soon. Bye.